Welcome to Human Experience, a podcast about life, sharing experiences, and how to make yourself feel better. Men need to talk more about their well-being, so let's make a start.
Well, welcome to episode 7 of Human Experience. This week, Chris and I are going to be talking about our experience of living in the moment. A few weeks back now, we had a guest on, a friend of mine, John, who talked about the power of his now moments and how he really focuses on living in the moments and not wasting it by letting his thoughts take him to another destination that, you know, in most often times it's totally made up fantasy destination. And, you know, Chris and I thought it'd be an interesting topic to go a little bit further on in our own day-to-day experiences about living in the moment. It's one of the subjects that we're just going to be totally off the cuff with, just what we have, you know, we've not done much research on this topic, just sort of open discussion really, see where it goes and hopefully you'll enjoy it, get something from it and can share your thoughts with us as well. So Chris, how you doing this week, mate?
Yeah, all right, mate, all right. Loving a bit of sunshine, so can't complain too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, week 7 as well, absolutely churning them out now.
Yeah, mate, yeah, it's like regular occurrence for me and you, just cracking on a Wednesday evening.
Yeah.
To living the dream in the sun all day because I've had this week off work. So, yeah, can't complain, mate.
Good. Oh, well. Have you been remembering to live in the present moment though, Stu, or has your mind been wandering while you've been sunbathing?
It has its moments. I mean, this week, I've took the week off work and normally, because it's my birthday tomorrow, so I'll be turning 37. And normally this time of year, we always take the week off, but we always do something on my birthday. On family birthdays, me and my wife's got kids, we'll tend to go somewhere, even if it's just like down to the in-laws, which is down south, or, you know, Centre Parks or somewhere like that. And we usually put off the DIY jobs that we've got going on around the house. But this year, because we literally can't go anywhere else, we've chosen to tackle the DIY jobs. Now, that brings me back to the topic of this conversation, because I have found myself thinking a lot about what the jobs are going to look like when they're done and what to tackle first. And probably overlooking the fact that my kids are living the best life in a paddling pool in the back garden. Daddy play this, daddy play that. And I've been there thinking, I wonder what that's going to look like when I paint it that colour.
Yeah, it's a common thing where I know certainly me as well, often living our lives in the future like that. Like, I've got to do this, got to do that. What happens if I don't do that? Don't forget to do that. And yeah, it's not uncommon to live most of your day in the future or in the past, which is you're wasting your present moment, aren't you?
Definitely, mate. Yeah, like I've really had to check myself today. So I've first-hand experience today of where a work topic came up from a work friend who I was just talking to, as I do, you know, with him on a regular basis. And something came up about work and instantly it took me to next week. And I was thinking, right, when I get in Monday, I've got this to do, that to do. Next thing I'm going to tackle is that. I'm going to recap this. And then I was like, hang on a minute. I'm missing this week for planning that week. Too much. Like, I'm not saying that it's not the right thing for me to put something aside to say, right, well, you know what your first job's going to be when you get back. That, you know, it's all right to have a plan and to set yourself a mission, so to speak. But when that becomes 24 hours of the current day that you're in for something that's not happening for 7 days, that's when it's too much, obviously. Yeah,
it becomes detrimental. And like you said there, you're missing some quality moments with your kids. They're only young once and all that kind of like cliches and all that kind of stuff, but it's so true. You know, you miss those moments when you're just automatically listing off all the things you've got to do next week, or regretting something that you did last week and wishing you could change it. I'd actually pretty much the only bit of research I did before this was to looking at how often do people spend thinking about things that aren't happening right now. And there was one study done with about 2,000 people and it came out about 50-50. So 50% of the time they found that they were thinking about something else. I would probably say I go through days where that's much higher. I was quite surprised that was that low, but still it's half of your life is spent outside of what's happening right now. And probably let's just take a step back. What do we mean by now? And we talk about this a lot, don't we, Stu? Now is all you've got. Everything that's ever happened in your life happened right now as you're looking out of your eyes into whatever's happening in the world. And time itself's a construct that the humans have agreed upon to say, right, that was the past, that was the future, just to give us some sort of guideline to work with. And we've created time, we've created calendars, we've created birthdays, all that kind of stuff's created this very kind of solid definition of time that is just, it's like money. We've just agreed that money is what it is. It literally just a bit of paper and a number.
A bit of paper. Yeah. What's that A4 bit of paper any different to that bit of paper with the Queen's face on it?
Yeah, and we've just all made this like subconscious agreement years ago that was going to be it. So yeah, right now is what's happening as you look out of your eyes and in your real life that you can see, smell, touch, feel, all that kind of stuff. And that's literally the only moment you've got in life, isn't it? The rest's a memory or a future projection on what might happen. But we've talked, like John talked as well when he was on a few weeks back, about even though you might be thinking about the future and past, to your body and mind, it can feel real. You can, think about one of your biggest regrets, you'll probably start feeling sad or anxious and all that kind of stuff. Or think about a big task you've got coming up. You'll get all the same bodily reactions as if you were living it right there and then. So you've got to be really careful about what it is you're spending your 50% of your time, as the study shows, thinking about, because that can have a really detrimental impact on your mental health.
Definitely, mate. Yeah, like some of the times, like the biggest triggers to my anxiety are not living in the moment and thinking about either something in the past or something. The majority of the time for me, actually, it's something coming up in the future. I'm usually all right with stuff that's happened, about putting it in the past, but stuff coming up in the future can really impact my mental health because there's just so many different variables that I keep playing over and over again. And that's when I can become quite like irritated, anxious, snappy. Just my worst self to be around for others is when I'm not living in this moment and I'm focusing on something that's going to happen in the future. But I also think as well, like I've noticed as well, like I think we talked about it in one of the earlier episodes, but like by not living in the moment as well, I get my biggest sort of like letdowns because you'll have an image of something in your head, like this is going to happen, that's going to happen. And then when you get there and it doesn't, you're like, oh, yeah, I knew that. And it just sets your day off bad. I think we referred to it when we were on about like going on nights out. It might have been last week's episode. And now we're in lockdown. I'd appreciate even the quieter nights where back in my 20s, every Saturday would have had to been a big belting night. And if it wasn't, it was a disappointment because I'd built it up. I'd built it up that much in my mind all week saying, I can't wait to get to Saturday. It's going to be a belter. Saturday would come and people would be dropping out left, right and centre for whatever reasons. And you're like, oh, this is just a big letdown now. Yeah. Where if you'd have lived in that the moments all that week, you'd have just took it in your stride because everything would have been there now.
Yeah. Yeah, it is so true. It's all the stories that you tell yourself. And one of the best books I've read on it, and we've quoted it in the past already, is called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. So definitely recommend that to anyone that wants to hear more on this subject. And I've just got a few of the quotes in front of me now, and it might just give us a decent framework to kind of get our own thoughts on what these quotes mean to us. So I've just come across one. So the past gives you an identity and the future holds the promise of salvation, of fulfillment in whatever form. Both are illusions, which I think I personally spend a lot of time linking it into like health and fitness, because I know we're both into that. Like, right, I'm going to get the best workout routine in 6 months from now. I'm going to be absolutely shredded, like going to totally turn my life around and all that. And that's just probably an escape from how I'm feeling right now. Like I've just had another cupcake and I'm feeling a bit flabby or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I'll start trying to escape the pain I feel from that moment by saying next week's going to be different, or creating these illusions and stories to make myself comfort and feel better in the moment, where actually the best thing to do would just be snap out and into the moment that you're in now and maybe do 10 press-ups or go for a jog or something. Do you know what I mean? But you've
the choice is in that moment.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. If you improve the quality of your every now moment, that's the only way you improve your life, isn't it? It's them little decisions moment by moment, not some elaborate plan in your mind that you can change your course of your life in 6 months, which you totally can, but it's only by taking the daily minute by minute steps in the right direction to get there.
Yeah, you can't change your life in 6 months if you don't focus on your nows. So it's similar to again a book we've quoted many times on this, but like the Atomic Habits book that we've discussed in the past. So in that book, the author talks about enjoying the process. So not setting yourself a goal. You have a goal, but not focusing too much on the goal. It's the process that leads to that goal. So if you say to yourself, in 6 months' time, I'm going to be doing X, then what this author says is you're giving future you permission to be happy when X is achieved. And if X isn't achieved, then you feel like you've just wasted that part of your time and you've not been able to do it. And then that creates a negative view on it, where if you focus on the 1% each day and go, right now, in this minute, right now, I'm going to go out and work out. And that's all I'm focusing on is right now. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to do my tea in that moment. And when you get to that moment of making your tea, you have a choice of a full English fry up, or you have a choice of salad with correct level of protein and carbohydrates. In that now, you make that choice, whatever you want it to be. That's the only thing that matters. The end goal will take care of itself. As long as those 1% moments, you follow what you want. What in those moments when you're given those choices, I believe it says, who you want to be, answer it from that lens. So whatever is in your mind about the person or the goal you wanted to achieve or person you want to be, answer those options from that perspective. And that'll then give you that, rather than thinking, and I do it all the time. That's one of my biggest guilty things of, my wife will laugh her head off when I've just polished off a Domino's pizza, and then I'll be like, but Monday I'm getting back on the diet. And I think I've said that for 6 years, something daft like that.
Yeah, it cycles that repeat, isn't it?
Yeah. So like at first it was, I was flitting between sort of like different training style, training methods. And I'm like, right, that's the focus. I didn't really think about the food. I just had to get consistent of doing one thing. Then when I mastered that, the food thing though just does not seem to work. It's the Achilles heel of my now moment choices, because I make the wrong one every single time. But in my mind, that future voice is saying, but you've got the rest of your life to deal with it. Eat the cake.
Yeah. That should be the name of your first book, mate.
Yeah.
No, it's so true. And I think if you could rate like every minute out of 10, that would tell you what your life is. So if you're consistently getting 6 5s out of 10s, that's ultimately what your whole life's going to be like. And if you might get the odd 10 out of 10 every now and again, but it doesn't matter. I think another quote similar to that, but from a guy called Simon Sinek in one of his books, like leadership sort of guru type guy. But he basically said, flossing your teeth once will not do anything for your teeth, or it won't work at all unless you do it every day for 30 seconds. It's just that action, repetitive action, the process, falling in love with the process, getting it done, focusing on your end goal, which is, in that example, like a healthy set of teeth, whatnot, but it could easily be bench press, whatever, 150 kilograms, whatever. Keep that in your mind, but don't, like what you're saying, don't let that become the be all and end all. Just take the necessary steps to get there, which is every day or 3 times a week doing the action that's going to get you there.
So I think when we look through the lens and we're talking about living in the moment, and we'll look at like career focused people, so you can adapt this to your working life. I'm certainly someone who I think it came up in every year of my school reports that I daydream too much, and it's something that I really consciously focus on every minute that I'm at work. I'm really conscious on like what I'm doing, making sure that I'm engaged in the tasks and being very present in that moment. And that can be quite it certainly is tiring for me, but it's what I have to do to get to where I want to be in my career. And I enjoy that process. Like I enjoy the day-to-day focus of it. But I think that can sometimes be people's Achilles heel in those career aspirations, that they're focusing on, I want to get to this level, and they're sort of daydreaming away about that rather than focusing all their energy on, if I'm the best I can be in this role right now, that will sort of take care of itself, because I'm going to progress through the ranks by separate myself from all my peers, because I'm so focused on what I'm doing at this moment in time.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think one of the best indicators for how conscious people are about the surroundings and about the outputs and the results is how they deal with those challenges when they're thrown up. So I've seen loads of people like, oh, it's not fair, so-and-so got that job, or, I thought I did a really good job, so-and-so's got an agenda against me, that kind of thing. Whereas if they just took a deep breath, stop those thoughts and actually assess, right, what went well, what didn't go well, who do I need to speak to find out what I need to do next, who do I trust, whose opinion, there's loads of, like, if you just pause your thoughts, stop telling yourself, like, these stories that don't exist properly, you could just focus on the actions you need to take and come back stronger next time, I think. And you learn that the hard way. I've got down on myself and situations in the past, but actually where I've succeeded in life the most is where I've took responsibility for myself, just say, right, something I didn't do didn't go right, so I need to refocus, go back to the drawing board and see what I need to do differently next time. And I think you've got that attitude as well, Stu. And that's life's an attitude. You can either accept what's just happened now, or you can, resist it. Which would you prefer? If you accept it, you've got power to either move on because you can't do anything about it, or change what you've done and come back better next time. But if you resist it, you're going down that sort of storytelling mode that you're just telling yourself a lie and living a lie, really.
Yeah. Well, you're not even living it, are you? Because you're too busy, like, in that make believe world you're creating yourself than being in that moment. And another thing that the living in the moment helped me realize as well, still talking about like work related, was like my learning style. So I'm very much recognize that I prefer to be hands-on. Like, I like to be doing the job to learn the job, rather than being sat in a classroom. Like, the classroom environment and the school environment, like the worst learning style for me ever, because it was so hard for me to keep that focus on someone just talking at me, or in a group environment having a chats. I much preferred to be like, right, this is what you've got to do, crack on, and you'll learn. As you do something wrong, I'll point it out to you. Like, that was just so much easier for me to be in that moment than it was to be sat in a classroom having someone talking at me, which, it wasn't really for me, as my GCSEs would account for.
The reason why we call ourselves Human Experience really is we've been there, haven't we, Sue? We were very keen not to talk about stuff that we didn't have any clue about. It may not sound like that from time to time, but we wanted to talk about our own experiences. And the only reason we can kind of look back on that and say, oh, it should have been focusing on the moment in that, it's because we've fallen foul of it in the past, and we've hopefully put some of that right, but we're still learning. And I think I get some out of this weekly session with you. Just me and you talking through helps me like consolidate what I've learned and learn new things. But something that I think is a really good teacher for this living in the moment thing is, without sounding cheesy, being out in nature. I had a moment today where, and we talked about it on the lockdown episode last week, where I was on my lunch break out in my back garden, which is a new experience for me, having a lunch break. And usually, quite often I'm probably on my phone while I'm eating my sandwich, so I'm not like in the moment. But it's such a nice day, nice and quiet, sun shining. I just sat back and I noticed like three sort of, I think they were either buzzards or like red kite, like bird of prey, just circling in the distance, making like calling noises, and they're just circling around, not doing anything interesting particularly, but I can guarantee 9 times out of 10 I wouldn't have even noticed them. Like, if I was heading Twitter or on whatever, looking at football news or whatnot, I would not have realised that. And that just like really brought me back to the moment, and think how many good things you miss in your life by not just like taking notice of something that's going on right in front of you. And I think like that would be a big regret as you got older and towards sort of the golden years of your life, if you sort of missed those key moments in your life. And don't get me wrong, nobody's ever going to perfectly say, right, I was present for 100% of it, but just try and get those ratios up and try and say, as best I could, I was there for those big moments.
I think so. I think like, and I think you just hit the nail on the head there. It's like, it's the moments like that matter really. Like, you want to, if you've got something that you want to be. So let's say, for example, I want to be a better football player. Then you need to be present at training. and not away with your thoughts. You need to be in the moment, learning the game, learning from the coaches and who are giving you the experience. So when you're interacting with these people, you're not thinking of something else when they're bestowing their wisdom on you, so to speak. For 24 hours a day, you're not going to be in that present moment all the time. But it's, I guess, what I'm trying to work on is recognizing when I'm not. So I'm not beating myself up about not being in that moment, but just recognizing when I've wandered and bringing myself back to topic or back to point, whatever I'm doing at that time. And just so when I was doing some light research earlier, I found a website and it just gives like 8 things you can do to sort of put yourself in that present moment. And I thought it might be a good idea if I just go through the 8 we can just break it down to like see if how I relate to it, how Chris relates to it, and then you guys listening at home can sort of think to yourself about it. So the first one that came up is truly listen to what people are saying, and I think I just touched on that example there of becoming a better footballer and listening to your coaches around you. So I found myself professionally with friends, even on occasion when we first started doing this podcast, Chris would be speaking and I'd be listening, but I'd also be looking at what points we've got to cover. So the first few probably episodes of this is totally different to what we've got now, just because we wanted to be in this moment more. So we stopped writing as much information as we could to get in and just focused on going with the conversation, because that's why we're here. Certainly Chris and I, you guys might be here for a number of reasons, but Chris and I are here to talk to each other about our experiences and then share it with you. And I found that, too much prep work were ruining the actual moment of us having this interaction now. Mm. So, I guess one thing to do is if someone's speaking to you is really concentrating on what they're saying and trying to really be involved in that conversation. The next one was become aware of your thoughts. So this isn't an easy one by any stretch of the means, and it would help like when we discussed the meditation and things like that, but just recognizing, like as Chris pointed out, when people might not get to where they want to be and they feel like there's some hidden agenda and they're telling themselves this story, it's recognizing like none of this is true. This is just my spin on this entire situation. Like none of this might be fact. And until I know it's fact, I'm not going to worry myself about it. I'm going to just carry on focusing what I can do to make myself better. So, your thoughts are your thoughts, and they're not you, so to speak. They're just your thoughts popping up in your head. And as soon as you can recognize that is taking you off down this tangent, then the better you'll be at pulling yourself back away from it and separating yourself.
Yeah, you nailed on the head about meditation. I know we bang on about it quite a bit, but that's perfect for that. And even just sat there trying to just focus on your breath, you'll have a screaming child in your head saying, listen to this thought, what have you got to do at work, why did you do that? Like that's where I first realized, like, hang on a sec, there's something trying to run my life here that I need to just get a grip on. And I find like picturing those thoughts as like clouds or bubbles helps me to then just like almost mentally blow them away and detach myself from them, and focus on the breathing and stuff like that. So that's a good point.
Definitely. The third one that we've got here, and it might seem a bit of a daft one for us to be trying, but it says eat more slowly and savour the food. So like a lot of people eat in a hurry, they eat unconsciously, they're not really enjoying the food. It's just, I guess, a way to make them live.
Yeah, I'm terrible at this. It's like a means to an end. It's like, right, it's 5 o'clock, I need to eat something, but I've got the TV on and I'm scrolling through my phone at the same time. Like I'm just shoveling it into my mouth, but actually, one, it's not healthy to shovel it down like that, I imagine. And two, think of that gratitude thing. There's people out there that, would like literally bite your arm off to have what you're eating, and you just subconsciously throwing it in your head. And it's if you think about it, it stimulates a load of senses for you. It's got smell, it's got taste, it's like got the feeling of it kind of filling you up. There's some good moments in your day to day that you should try and savor. So you saying that has really just made me think I need to get on top of that, because I'm literally just wolf it down. It's gone in 2 seconds, and it's like a means to an end.
I'm exactly the same. Yeah, I'm exactly the same, mate. Like I've actually hit the nail on the head from my point of view. Why I have done this. So like when I was a kid, I would eat as quick as I could because I always wanted to be out with my mates. So like your mum and dad would say, come on, it's dinner time or whatever. You can play out with your mates once you finish your dinner. That were like, all right, challenge accepted. Bosh, straight down. Yeah. And I've carried that on through all my life. That's the only thing I can think of is like everyone I know or everyone who has ever eaten with me and my wife, especially when we first started going out, were like, what? You don't even chew. It's just like in, done, and then I'm on to the next thing. And, so this is one I'm going to really try and work on. It seems a bit silly to me. Like it's going to take me some practice to actually do it because, it'll be outside my comfort zone a little bit, but I'm going to give it a go and hopefully it'll help create more now moments for me.
Yeah, it struck a chord with me as well. It's like, it's a perfect example of rushing parts of your life to get to the next part where if you're constantly doing that, you're rushing like half of your life to get to part of your life that might not even be as good as you think it's going to be.
Definitely, mate.
Yeah, good point. Definitely.
The next one is breathe consciously. So I think this ties into a lot to the meditation. That's a big factor around meditation is that you're focusing on your breath. A quote here from a Buddhist monk says, healing is every breath. If you're conscious about breathing, it brings your focus onto the now. So again, if you've had a go at meditation through these weeks that you've been listening to us, then you definitely know that that's a massive part of it. And it is something that, like, when I start to feel a bit anxious and, and my mind racing away with something that's coming up, I do try and focus on my breathing to bring me back grounded.
Yeah, it stops those unconscious reactions. So, like, say you get an email at work that's pissed you off and you're just in the middle of absolutely blasting out like a reply that's just not going to go down well. If I just take a moment, just have a deep breath, like, actually, I'm not in the right space of mind to send that right now, or I need to delete 50% of what I just wrote before I get sacked. But yeah, it's only through breathing that you can kind of catch, well, it's not only through that, but that's a good tool to have in your arsenal. If you have a conscious breath, you can just set the reset button, can't it?
Yeah. Usually I have that conscious breath and then click send anyway and then get no bother. So the next one then is focusing on one task at a time. So I think we can all be quite guilty of, like, multitasking is a great asset that people sell themselves have been able to do, but it's no good, I guess, multitasking and half-assing every single thing that you do. So I'm certainly someone who likes to focus on that, being in the moment and focusing on that one task and getting that 100% right straight away. Bosh, next thing, onto that. But that can certainly help improve your living in the moment, because if you're doing one task and then you're half on another task as well, your mind's not in that place; it's in two places at once.
Yeah, I'm bad for that. Probably not so much in a work sense, but like in my personal life, like if I should be having a conversation with my wife and I'm kind of like just looking at the TV, like, yeah, or unconsciously just nodding along to it. And that can get annoying, I imagine. I don't like when people do it to me, so I don't know why, I default into it. So yeah, it's not just a work thing. It's like day to day. Give people your 100% focus if it's going to be worth their time talking to you.
Definitely, mate. Couldn't agree more. The next one, so number 6 on this list, is do an act of kindness. I quite like this one. So it says, when we are being kind with intention to make someone's day or bring a smile to a person's face, we are actively engaged in the moment. Our focus is on the task and attributing to another's delight. I think that's a fantastic one.
Yeah, that is a good one. And that sort of, it takes you out of your own head because you're doing it for the other person. It doesn't take much, does it, at all? Like, think of a time somebody, has sent you like a thanks email at work or whatnot. It probably took 10 seconds to write, but it's probably the thing you remember most from that day. So I need to do that more. Just give out the praise, say thank you, just comment, on positively on other people. Because it's so easy to be a complainer and like, oh, so-and-so did this or whatnot. But that just spreads that negative energy, doesn't it? Yeah,
it does, mate. Yeah, definitely. And, I think everybody who I interact with, everyone, we're human, so it is easy to talk the negatives. I think I'm sure this is common knowledge, but like people are more likely to talk about a bad experience than they are about a good experience. So that just shows like the mindset that we've got woven into, and we just probably need to break that mindset, focus on the positivities, and then it stops us running away, living in the past about some bad experience that we had. We can just focus on what's happening now. The next one, we spoke about it last week. I believe it last week or the week before. Sorry, it might have been the ego episode, which is practice gratitude. So being grateful helps you be able to focus on being in the moment. So when you're talking to yourself about what you're grateful for, it's everything that you've got around you at that moment in time. You're not saying I'm grateful because in 6 months I'm going to have a Ferrari sat on drive, because that's make-believe world again. You focus your gratitude on what you've got right there and then on what, and that's not saying it's a Ferrari that you might have on the drive, but it really gets you to be grounded on what you're grateful for in that moment. Yeah,
and it's something you need to do regularly, because we're only human. You get used to your surroundings, so you take for granted the nice warm shower that you've just had, or your nice meal like we were talking about before. So it does take practice, and again, it's not something I've nailed in my own life, but to be able to take a step back and think, actually, what more do I need? I've got all the food I want, clean clothes, all those little things in life that actually add up to a decent life if you give yourself credit for it.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And then the last one is relish the day. So do you ever think about what a blessing it is to get another day? Each new day, so this is a saying from Brother Steindl-Rast, a Catholic monk. So each new day is a gift to us, and the only appropriate response for this gift is gratefulness. And basically focusing on how much you appreciate being in your day today. Every time you wake up, being in that moment, I am so grateful that I'm here right now. Yeah,
and I've talked about this previously as well. I'm terrible. I need to really catch myself doing it, waking up in that first, similar to you thinking about next week at work, the first thought's I've got this meeting today, it's going to be a pain in the ass, so I've got to do this. And I've really, since we had that episode about 4 weeks ago, I've really got better at it. Just wake up, look at the sun shining. It's easier in the summer, of course, but just what is the alternative? The alternative is not being here with the people you love, so don't resist it. And I think, in the Power of Now with Eckhart Tolle, that is the one of the core messages as well, just being grateful for the moment, accepting what is, and just working with it instead of working against it.
Yeah, because that is, when I was attempting to have a go at jiu-jitsu and I was watching a lot of YouTube podcasts on jiu-jitsu, and I think it was the trainer for George St. Pierre, I can't remember his name right now at the moment, but he talked on the Joe Rogan podcast about flow and about how time flies when you're in flow and you're working with everything around you. You're very when you experience flow and time seems to fly and you go, oh, I can't believe time has flown. It's more than likely when you're enjoying something, and that's when you're in that moment, when you're in that now moment, and time just goes super quick because that's 100% what your concentration's on. So a lot of times you might have nights out with your friends. I know I experienced it when I was younger, and all of a sudden the lights had come on and you're in a night coming hang on a minute, what time is it? Because you've had such a good time being in that moment with your mates.
But then sorry mate, on the flip side, where you've had a day at work that's dragged, or you're going on holiday at the end of today, you're looking at the clock and it's going backwards because you're just praying for that time to be gone, and you just counting every second, aren't you?
Yeah, and you're focusing your mind too much on what's coming in the future rather than just enjoying and working with that flow in that moment. Yeah. Just accepting it what it is right now. Enjoy right now, and that all that stuff will come and it'll become your now then, and you'll enjoy it in that moment as well.
Yeah, good stuff.
So that concludes this week's episode. Chris and I would like to thank you for listening. Please subscribe and leave us a review to help our community grow. You'll find links to our social media and any other resources discussed in this episode in our show notes.